Let's say you've been injured. You've been driving somewhere, someone hit you, so you had a slip or fall. You've been somewhere and you've been injured and you think someone else is responsible for it. Someone else is negligent for it. It's one thing to think it. How do you prove it? How do you prove someone was negligent? That's what we're going to talk about. My name is Kaplan Morrell with the law firm Kaplan Morrell. We've been helping injured and disabled workers and other folks and their families get benefits since 1997. And if we can help you, we'd love to be able to help you. Please give us a call. We're going to set all the information up here. You can text us, etc. We would love to talk with you and be able to help you and see how the law affects the facts in your case. And with that, let's dive into it. So a very common part, we've been talking about what are called personal injury claims. Personal injury claims are claims where you've been injured and you think it's due to the negligence of someone else. Now, it's different from workers' compensation injuries because workers' compensation, it doesn't matter fault. Fault doesn't come into it. You don't have to prove someone was negligent in order to recover in workers' compensation. That's kind of called a no-fault system. It just, were you injured on the job, then you're covered. But in personal injury claims, you do have to prove fault. And so typically, if someone is negligent and you get injured because of it, you can sue them for a personal injury claim, unless, of course, they're your employer. If your employer is negligent, then you're limited to workers' compensation benefits unless they don't have workers' compensation. If your employer doesn't carry workers' compensation, you can sue them, but now you're going to have to prove negligence. If you're driving and someone hits you, you're going to have to prove that they're negligent. How do you prove it? How do you prove that? I'm going to talk about a few things that I wish every injured person did immediately following an accident. And if they do that, it makes proving fault that much easier. And at the end, I'm going to explain why getting a good experienced lawyer is critical to seal the deal. So here are a few steps that I wish every injured person took when they got injured in order to maximize their chances of being able to prove the other side was at fault. Report the injury to the police. This is particularly true if you've been injured in a car accident. You want to make sure that the police are called to the scene of an accident because they're going to investigate, they're going to talk to people, they're going to talk to witnesses. You may be too injured, too distracted, too shocked to do all of the investigation that you're going to need. So the police are going to come and they are going to interview you, interview the other driver, interview witnesses if it's a car accident, but you want to make sure that the police are involved not only because they investigate, but also if your injury occurred as a result of someone not following the rules of the road by violating the rules. Maybe they ran a red light. Maybe they were going a direction they weren't supposed to. They turned when they weren't supposed to. All of those things are critical, especially if they write a citation to the other driver. So number one is make sure that the police are called and that they arrive, do an investigation, and if anyone broke the law, that they give a citation to that person. Now, in addition to having a police file a report, is particularly if it's a car accident, if you were injured in the work setting and you weren't the employee, you got there somewhere, you should also report the injury to OSHA. OSHA stands for Occupational Safety Health Administration, and what they do is they investigate on-the-job injuries. Again, if you're an employee and you're injured on the job due to the negligence of your employer, and they carry workers' compensation, you're not going to be able to file a personal injury claim. You have a workers' compensation claim. And the good news is in workers' compensation, it doesn't matter who is at fault. Fault doesn't matter. But let's say you are an independent contractor and somebody else's negligence causes your injury. You want to make a claim with OSHA. You want to ask them to investigate it. And again, same thing. They're going to investigate why the accident happened, whether it was due to an unsafe work environment. And that investigation is going to help you prove not only that someone was negligent, but more importantly, who was negligent. Take photos, take video of the accident, what happened, what the things looked like, the lay of the road, the weather conditions, the lighting conditions, as many photos and videos as you can make. That's going to be helpful. Now, it's going to be a little weird if you get into an accident, you pull out your camera and you start videoing everything, but you understand what I mean. It's really important, oftentimes, in order to prove negligence, to be able to show what things looked like at the time of the accident. What was the damage to your car? What was the damage to you? Do you have any bruises? Is there damage to the other person's car? Was there guardrails or safety rails not installed or improperly installed? So it's really kind of critical that you take as much video and photos as possible in order to show this is what the scene looked like at the time, because later on down the road, when it comes time to investigate, to try to prove fault, a lot of time may have passed, and you're going to want to be able to show what it was like then, not what it's like 5 months later, 6 months later, a year later. So take lots of photos and videos. Try to collect witness statements. If there are any witnesses to an accident, collect their contact information, ask if they're willing to provide information or a statement. If you need to, ask to record them, get their information so that you can text them, etc. Witness statements, particularly if they have no bone in the fight, they weren't also injured either, they were just there, they saw what happened. Whether or not you recover doesn't affect them. Whether or not the other person was responsible, liable, negligent, doesn't affect them. They are what we call bystanders, neutral witnesses, even better. They're going to be able to corroborate, meaning back up, what you say about what happened, who was at fault. So that's really important for you to get names and phone numbers of folks who saw what happened. Medical care. Get medical care. I can't stress this enough. One very common problem that happens in car accidents is you're like hoping you're not injured. Maybe you're even embarrassed because you got injured and you deny needing medical care. Boy, they're going to use that against you. Now, let's talk reality. Most people, when they first get injured, they're hoping they're not injured. You've got a lot of adrenaline going through your system. You don't know what hurts, and it takes a while before you go, oh, wait, this is serious. This isn't going away, etc. My immediate advice is don't turn down medical care. Seek medical care. Get checked out immediately. But most folks are going to know that over time, you're going to start to hurt, and then you're going to seek medical care. The less time between the accident and you seeking medical care, the better. And so I'm just recommending, don't be Mr. Tough Guy, so to speak, and no, don't need medical care, I'm fine. If there's any doubt in your head at the moment, go get medical care, go get checked out. And again, you need to be aware of, hey, at this point, I think I'm okay, but the accident just happened. I'm a little shocked. I'm a little stressed out. I'm a little worried. But right now, right now things don't hurt, but it may change. And if it does change, don't delay and go get medical care. If you're asked, are you injured? You may say, I'm not sure. Right now, I'm under a little shock, and I need to wait and see how things are, because I don't know if this is something that's going to require medical care or if it's going to get worse or not get better over time, but seek medical attention. Hire an attorney. It's one thing to convince yourself or your friends or your family that someone else was careless, and it's another thing altogether to convince an insurance adjuster who's paid to minimize your claim, who's paid to get rid of your claim as cheaply as possible, that their insured, the person who is paying the premiums, was in fact negligent. And it's even harder to prove negligence to a jury or to a judge. You don't know, unless you're an attorney and have done this, what kind of evidence you need, how to get that evidence into court to be able to show the other side, hey, if you aren't reasonable with me, I will go to court and I know how to present the evidence. I've done it before. And also, an attorney is going to know how to prove negligence, because sometimes it's difficult to. Sometimes it's not enough to show the other person violated the law. Sometimes, even if they didn't violate the law, that doesn't mean that they weren't negligent. And so an attorney, especially an experienced attorney, is going to know how to prove the other side was negligent. More importantly, when you're dealing with an experienced attorney, the insurance company on the other side is going to know that if they don't negotiate in good faith with you and your experienced attorney, they know your experienced attorney is willing and able to go to court to convince a jury and a judge. And that makes a huge difference. I'm hopeful that this video is helpful to you to explain that it's not a simple thing just to say, oh yeah, they were negligent. You've got to be able to prove it. There are a lot of things that you can do in order to increase your chances of being able to have the evidence to show someone else was negligent. Because in the end, that's what's going to happen. You're going to have to show an adjuster, convince an adjuster that their insured was negligent, or you're going to have to convince an adjuster that you can convince a judge and a jury that their insured was negligent. And to increase your chances, hiring an attorney is going to help you be successful. Thanks for spending part of your day with me.